Perceiving that the world is in a quantum exponential disorder punctuated by the Gregorian, Arrhenius knew that time is of the essence, and that to rely on any of the established institutions and their procedures for instrumenting change is a loss of time. For this reason, he perceived that a thoroughly populist approach may be the only way to move from one calendar and one time to another calendar and another time. There is no question that the future of civilization, and indeed of the biosphere, may completely depend on a strategically timed and well-designed calendar reform, which takes into account all aspects of human existence, for there is nothing that is not affected by time. Of note in these reflections is the persistence of the 13-moon calendar. Kant's positivist calendar was derived from Tahiti. The Andean 13-moon calendar Pachacuti is still in use. The Maya knew and used the 13-moon calendar. They call it the Tun Uk. In ancient England and Europe, this same calendar is known as the Druid calendar. Archaeology from Japan shows that this calendar was known to its ancestor peoples. The remembrance of the 28-day cycle, which after all is the human female biological cycle, is recalled in the traditions of the 28 lunar mansions of the Chinese and the Hindus, while among the Lakota, 28 poles were always used for the construction of the teepee. And not only is 20 days the mean number of days of the lunation cycle, it is also the number of days it takes the sun to rotate at its diameter. The point of returning to use of this calendar is precisely because it corresponds to the female menstruation cycle, while possessing a profound natural harmony and regularity. What better way for humanity to advance its evolutionary cause and return to the cycles of nature? The myth of the succession of the weekly cycle has no power in the face of continued use of a calendar which is inherently problematic and without resolution. This myth must be seen for what it is, the final dogma of the Gregorian calendar. Following the defeat at all efforts at calendar reform in the first half of the 20th century, the Gregorian calendar has had a half-century reprieve. But it must be asked, for instance, on which calendar do NATO powers depend? Humanity must now walk on its own and experience a day out of time, no day of the week at all. Not as chaos, but as the beginning possibility of relieving all debts and creating an atmosphere of forgiveness and reconciliation, where peace may be practiced, as the proliferation of art and culture once again. Finally, in consideration of the promise of peace guaranteed by the new calendar of harmony and regularity, we should consider the opportunity presented by the principle of incorporation, disincorporation, and regeneration in time. Virtually all existing institutions are incorporated in the Gregorian calendar. This means that their sovereignty in time is owing to their incorporation date in the Gregorian calendar. To relinquish this calendar is actually to disincorporate all of these institutions, whether they be corporation or nation-state. Determining that it is humans and not institutions who have sovereignty in time, how is the transition to come about? All previously existing institutions incorporated in the Gregorian calendar being now disincorporated, their former managers must be brought to a new human understanding of time, and the creation of a genuine equality justice and brother and sisterhood of the human race, where violence is no longer acceptable and peace is how we live each moment of every day. Given the opportunity of replacing the one calendar with the other, we must ask, what is the first pragmatic step to be taken and what procedures are to be followed, assuring that the human species creatively and peaceably enter a new time, where, like the even weeks and harmonious months of the new calendar, life is returned to a cosmic order of harmony on behalf of all that lives. In delivering these preparatory reflections, we conclude by declaring that everything undertaken by this calendar reform is in peace. The 13-moon calendar is the calendar of peace. It is not a reaction to an old calendar or any old institution, but on behalf of a profound common sense and discovery of an underlying law of nature, the law of time, that this reform is undertaken. We are also acutely aware that in these opening reflections there are many issues of a profoundly theological, psychological, and scientific nature touched upon by the calendar reform. We come in peace. We are peace. It is our mission to help establish a genuine culture of peace on Earth. We call it a galactic culture because liberated into the natural cycles of time, we shall come to experience and know ourselves as the truly cosmic beings that we are, partaking of a spiritual evolutionary process that intimately connects us with the entire order of the galaxy in which we find ourselves. Yes, there is a time of war and a time of peace. In the time of war we could only know war, so in a time of peace we shall only know peace.